Wall Street Journal claims to have seen some secret documents this last week that have given us all kinds of new sales figures, attachment rates, and other stuff for the Meta Quest. One of which is last October 2022. The report claims that they had 6.37 million monthly active players in Meta Quest devices. This coming after news that Meta actually admitted to selling about 20 million Quest devices total. Putting that at not quite a 30% attachment rate, that definitely does lend to what we reported on before about the Quest selling well, but then having trouble keeping people consistently playing and using the headset. Although that percentage was higher than what I would have expected with how much Meta has gone on to talk about not having enough people actively using their headsets. This, of course, also being before the holidays and before some of the really big game launches that we've seen a lot of publicity in, Breachers that just launched, Ghost of Tabor that launched recently. But in that report, it also went on to say that Beat Saber has generated $255 million in sales from its lifetime through October of last year. And 1.47 million of those devices are actively playing Beat Saber. Meta had already reported that Beat Saber had generated more than $100 million, so this does seem to be on par with that as well. One more detail out there, it said that 14 Quest games now have grossed more than $20 million, which is actually over double what Meta had admitted to the number of games reaching that mark the year before. This is all positive news, of course, if those secret documents were absolutely correct that they saw. What do you think? Do you think news coming out like this is a good thing? Do you think it's better if Meta's announcing the news themselves? Or could it bring in new developers, new publishers who see these figures and think, okay, VR is starting to be where money is at? I'd love to hear in the comments. Along the same vein of Wall Street Journal getting more secret documents and reports, they are now saying that they have found information showing that ByteDance, company that owns TikTok, and of course Pico, VR headset maker popular in China and Europe, was offering some VR developers $15,000 to $25,000 per title to help bring them onto the Pico store. This being one of the ways they have already curated about 300 VR apps on their store, which is still behind Meta Quest's over 500 apps on their store, but a lot for the Pico store, especially with its regional difficulties it's had not making it to its launch in the US as the whole TikTok hearings are going on. To some people this might sound unusual, but this is really typical in the gaming industry. It's why there's so many exclusivity contracts. When PlayStation gets an exclusive game or Xbox, they pay the developers to bring them to their platforms, and sometimes that comes with exclusivity, where in this case with Pico, this is just trying to get games that are already made, usually ported over to the Pico, but to help them have a more attractive software store for people who are considering whether they want to go Pico or Meta. There's been a lot of different VR Locomotion solutions trying to find ways to help you walk in the virtual world and help it feel more like real life. There was that weird saddle one I tried a long time ago. If you missed that, I'll leave a link up in the corner to check that one out. We'll have something on the screen here for you to see of that weird thing. Of course, VR treadmills like the ones we tried in Texas, and now a VR carpet. The seamless walk system, instead of your typical wearable shoes or sensors on your ankles, it's pressure sensors in a rug that you can tiptoe or step around on and actually move around in the virtual world. Now, seamless walk, of course, could compete with things like VR treadmills that have to hold you in place and either use frictionless shoes or a frictionless pad to help you move by allowing you not to be cumbered down by some sort of device holding you in place and allowing you to walk around on this mat. The applications for gaming, this would be kind of difficult. You might be jogging in place, and some people would say, what's the difference between that and just moving your controllers in a way that feels like jogging? They're not only looking at potential gaming, but even healthcare uses, thinking about things like rehabilitation for walking, or even like how the Wii Fit board that people used to stand on used to tell you how much of your pressure are you applying to your left side versus your right side, how balanced is your body overall, and what muscles do you need to work on to help correct those behaviors. This is something I'm interested in, but it almost makes me want to just get an old DDR mat out and try and hook that up to a computer and then just use that forward arrow for forward, kind of step back and forth, try moving in VR. Have you seen any interesting Locomotion solutions that you're waiting for to come to market? I know that omnidirectional treadmill is one I've been watching for years, waiting for when there's a consumer ready one. Arachnophobes, be warned, you may want to skip this next news piece, but a new game has come out on Quest PCVR called Kill It With Fire. And if you haven't heard about this game yet, it's actually a game that was released a while back flat, but is now made in VR. Much like the title, there is all kinds of creepy crawlies in a house, and you have to exterminate them by any means necessary, even going as far as killing them with fire. The game is only $15. It's out on the Quest store, it's out on Steam, but if you were one of the owners of the original flat screen title, you can also get a 25% discount on the Steam version for the VR side. This game is also supposed to be coming to PSVR and PSVR 2 later this year, but if you're not too afraid of spiders and you find it therapeutic to go in and clean house and take them out, this can be a fun game, but be prepared. It's definitely going to be a little triggering to anybody who has a hard time with bugs, me included. Walkabout Mini Golf is a game I've talked talked about a lot on the channel, and you've probably seen me play whether I was testing some golf clubs or even just doing some gaming of it. It is a really fun game that gets people in just playing mini golf together. But the mechanics feel real enough. The environments, even though they look low poly, are immersive enough that it's just a beautiful and fun game to play. It's finally coming to PSVR 2, and we have a date. It's May 11th. Less than 1 month from now, all the PSVR 2 players are going to get to start getting in with us and playing this game as well. Not only is the PSVR 2 version, but later this year, there's even supposed to be a phone-based version, Pocket Edition, coming to iPhones later this quarter as well. Walkabout's core golf courses are really pretty, but they've done a lot of partnerships and DLCs with known IPs like the Island of Mist, the World of Labyrinth, the David Bowie movie from I think like back in the 80s, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and more. And I've said it before on this channel, but if you haven't checked out Walkabout Mini Golf, it is definitely worth it in my opinion. There's just something so immersive and fun about it. I really like this game. Just don't start on the Upside Down course. Find a gentler course to start out on. With all that going on in the news this week, what has got you excited coming up here soon? We've got some big announcements coming from this channel next week, so watch out for that. We got hopefully AWE, the big Augmented World Expo, coming up at the end of next month, which we'll be excited to hopefully bring you some footage from there, because that's like an actual virtual reality, augmented reality convention centered just around that. And we got more from GDC, which we recently had to show off to you. But I want to say thank you once again for coming out and being here with me, and I will see you in another reality.